the day the world changed forever. On a quiet morning in August 1945, the world was about to witness a moment so powerful, so terrifying, that history itself would never be the same again. High above the Pacific Ocean, a massive American bomber slowly moved through the sky. Inside that aircraft was a single weapon capable of destroying an entire city in seconds. The crew called it Little Boy. But nobody truly understood the full horror that was about to unfold. This was not just another bomb. This was the beginning of the atomic age. And today, we are going to uncover the shocking story behind the first nuclear weapon ever used in human history, how it was built, how it worked, and why even the scientists who created it later feared its terrifying power. Before we continue, imagine this. A weapon small enough to fit inside a plane, yet powerful enough to erase buildings, streets, and thousands of lives almost instantly. That sounds impossible. But on August 6, 1945, it became reality. The story begins during World War II. At that time, countries around the world were racing to create more advanced and deadly weapons. The United States launched a secret operation known as the Manhattan Project. Hidden deep inside laboratories and military bases, thousands of scientists worked day and night on one mission, creating the world's first atomic bomb. One of the leading scientists behind the project was a brilliant physicist named J. Robert Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was incredibly intelligent and deeply fascinated by science. He believed nuclear technology could change the future forever. Under his leadership, scientists developed two powerful atomic bombs. One was called Fat Man, and the other was Little Boy. Although both weapons were nuclear bombs, they worked in completely different ways. Fat Man used plutonium and a complicated implosion system. Little Boy, however, used uranium and a much simpler gun-type design. That simplicity is one reason why the bomb was never fully tested before being dropped. And that fact alone terrified many scientists. The Little Boy bomb was around 10 feet long and weighed nearly 10,000 pounds. Even though it looked small compared to modern missiles, the destructive energy hidden inside it was unimaginable. To carry such a heavy weapon, the United States used one of the most advanced aircraft of that time, the powerful B-29 Superfortress bomber. This giant aircraft had 4 powerful engines, defensive machine guns, and enough range to travel long distances across the ocean. Among all the B-29 bombers built during the war, one aircraft would become forever linked to history. Its name was the Enola Gay. Early on the morning of August 6, the Enola Gay took off from the island of Tinian in the Pacific Ocean. The crew knew their mission was important, but many of them did not fully understand what would happen after the bomb was released. Inside the aircraft, the Little Boy bomb remained carefully armed during the flight. Safety systems were designed to prevent an accidental explosion before reaching the target. As the bomber approached Hiroshima, the city below looked peaceful. People were beginning their normal morning routines. Children were going to school. Workers were preparing for another day. Nobody knew that within minutes, everything would change forever. At approximately 8:15 in the morning, the bomb was released from the aircraft. The moment it fell, gravity pulled it rapidly toward the ground. But the bomb was designed to explode before impact. As it dropped through the air, special sensors inside the weapon activated one by one. Timers started counting down. Barometric systems measured altitude. Radar devices checked the distance from the ground. Everything had to happen perfectly. Inside the bomb was a unique mechanism called a gun-type assembly. Here's a simple way to understand it. Imagine 2 pieces of radioactive uranium separated from each other. On their own, they remain relatively stable. But when they are suddenly forced together at extremely high speed, they create a powerful chain reaction. That chain reaction releases enormous amounts of energy in less than a second. Inside Little Boy, conventional explosive charges fired one uranium piece directly into another through a barrel-like structure. Once the uranium masses combined, nuclear fission began instantly. So what exactly is nuclear fission? In simple terms, fission happens when the nucleus of a heavy atom splits apart. When this split occurs, massive energy is released along with additional neutrons. Those neutrons strike nearby atoms, causing them to split too. This creates a rapid chain reaction that grows uncontrollably in a fraction of a second. The result is an explosion unlike anything humanity had ever seen before. In the sky above Hiroshima, a blinding flash suddenly appeared. Within moments, temperatures near the center of the explosion became hotter than the surface of the sun. A massive fireball expanded rapidly across the city. Buildings instantly collapsed. Windows shattered miles away. Shockwaves ripped through streets and neighborhoods. Thousands of people disappeared within seconds. The explosion created several destruction zones. At the center was the fireball region, the deadliest area where almost nothing survived. Beyond that came the severe blast zone, where buildings were flattened and fires spread everywhere. Further away, people suffered burns, flying debris injuries, and dangerous radiation exposure. Even survivors far from the explosion faced long-term health problems caused by radiation. The world had never experienced destruction on such a scale before. News of the attack spread quickly across the globe. Many people celebrated the end of the war approaching, but others were horrified by the devastating human cost. Even Oppenheimer himself later became deeply troubled by what had been created. Years after the war, he famously reflected on the terrible power of nuclear weapons. He realized humanity had entered a dangerous new era, one where entire civilizations could potentially be destroyed by atomic warfare. Instead of supporting unlimited nuclear development, Oppenheimer later argued for international control of nuclear weapons and warned against a future arms race. But the world was already changing. After Hiroshima, nuclear weapons became symbols of both power and fear. Countries rushed to build even larger and more destructive bombs. The atomic age had begun. Today, decades later, the story of Little Boy still serves as a reminder of how science can be used for both progress and destruction. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and stay tuned for more fascinating stories about history, science, and the events that shaped our world forever.